Sherman here, voice of the Peoria Mustangs around the stable. A holiday weekend here among us, enjoying this beautiful summer weather in central Illinois, out and about around the River City. Got a special guest on this episode of Around the Stable, Ryann Cichon. You might know her sons, Ethan and Joshua Chesney. She's here with us today. First off, Ryann, thank you for joining us on Around the Stable.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here.
So what we're going to do today is we hear perspective of the players, we hear perspectives of coaches. Now we're going to see today what it is, the perspective of the hockey mom. There are two moms in this world, the hockey mom and your mom, and they make the world go round. And honestly, I got to say it, the broadcaster's wife makes the world go round too, because if it wasn't for my wife, I would literally forget everything and be up that proverbial creek without that paddle. So I first met you, Ryann, COVID season, no fans. I was in the Owen Center. I remember this. Well, I remember it now. And a period had just ended. You were volunteering. I think you were a goal judge or something along them lines. And a period had ended. I had sat down. I was scribbling notes. No clue you were even talking to me because I was just kind of off my own little world. And Andy Babcock leaned back and put his head in the little box we call the press box there and said, "You're going to just snub your fans and ignore them." And I stood up and there you were. And I was like, oh my God, one of the moments. But yes, that was the first time that I had met you, and in that COVID weird, no fans for 2/3 of a season type thing. And then look, here we are. We were packing the Owen Center almost every night we were home this season. So things have kind of gone a long way in a year.
Thankfully. Yes.
Very thankfully. Yes. So the first thing is, when this process first started, and we're going to go back to Ethan because Joshua was still not in the picture at this point in time. When the process first started, when you knew scouts were looking to play at an elite level, how does that feel as a parent to kind of keep them level and keep them kind of grounded?
Exactly like you said, you do have to keep them grounded in it, because it comes at you from all different sides as they're playing in that midget level. They're doing, different tournaments, certain places, and different, I don't even know what they call them anymore, but the different weekends where they're going and playing random teams, whether it be Minnesota, Dallas, Michigan, sometimes, or even our home. And people are constantly talking to them and talking to you, and you got to figure out if it's a sales pitch because they want the money for their camp, or is it, we really are interested in this kid. So you do have to keep the level head. You also have to keep the excitement going for them because you're proud of them. You want them to keep working. You want them to notice that they're doing something well that they enjoy doing. So it's a little bit of everything. And then it's the nerves as a mom of, oh my goodness, why is, at one point, I think Alaska had spoken to Ethan or something. And I thought, well, stop talking to him because I don't want him to go to Alaska. But it's all of it. It's just kind of all the emotions, but keeping them level-headed and rallying back the family a little bit to not jump on a chance just because it's there, to think about it and talk about it is really what it comes down to.
So through this process, and like I say, you've lived this twice. What made this Mustangs organization stick out with the coaching staff and the training staff and all that? What made it stick out that it was like, you know what, this is a place that Ethan's going to call home and play hockey at for however long?
It was left up to him for the most part, within reason. What teams spoke to him, which ones did he feel comfortable with? You eliminated it kind of that way first. There were ones that you weren't interested in. And then as we honed in more on specifics, the Mustangs knew Ethan. They knew his play. They kind of had already set some expectations for what they wanted to see out of him. Communication was constant. There were good things coming from them. And to hear them talk about him from even a year prior that they had noticed him, it was good. And I appreciated them bringing me into the conversation once it got a little more serious. But for the most part, it was in Ethan's court, and he felt comfortable. It wasn't too far from home. He was already feeling like that he had a friendship building, a coach relationship building with Ort, and it pretty much just fell. It wasn't a decision that needed to be physically said. We kind of already knew that was his choice.
And I can tell you that a lot of us are glad that that was his choice. And moving along, I'm going to turn things over to Brandon Luisi right now, and he's going to get more information from Miss Ryann here.
So yeah, when things started to take shape and Ethan signed with the Mustangs, how did it feel knowing he was going to play in a Tier 3 program away from home and away from what he was used to?
It wasn't anything we hadn't expected. We come from a hockey background family, so the excitement was there, but we knew what came from him going away. His stepdad Chris had gone away for juniors. His dad had gone away in high school to play hockey. So we kind of knew what was coming with that. So we probably didn't have as much anxiousness to it or stress that a lot of families would have for it. But as mom, yes, I'm leaving was a little stressful. Him leaving was a little stressful, but I was excited. It was so exciting, and it wasn't far. So, I felt like it was manageable for me. I can be there. Granted, it was COVID year, so that did change, and hopefully we talk about that later. But it was comfortable. I felt good with the family he was stepping into.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the whole pandemic and COVID and everything, building off of that, was it difficult trying to, trust the coaching staff, the billets, the training staff with the health and safety of, obviously your son Ethan?
Yes, in general, in the world, it was everywhere. Everywhere you looked, it was nerve wracking. What I loved about the Mustangs was there was communication. We got the emails, I want to say weekly on updates of what the expectations were with travel. They roomed the kids together that were always together. So Ethan stayed with his roommates in the hotel as well as at home. I feel like the kids were held responsible for making sure their health was good. They were eating good. If there was any question, it seemed like everybody was on top of it. So I didn't have any fear with the team. Not, I think as a league, I think our league did a fairly good job. And then as far as our billet, I mean, we love our billet mom and family, and that was easy. None of it was really too stressful. I know that Ebbs was on top of the kids with their health as well. So it wasn't as hard as one would have thought it would have been. And maybe that's because we were lucky that it was with the Mustang family. So I think we did a good job getting through it.
Kind of shifting gears here, but staying on that COVID track a little bit. So you're able to watch the games on hockey TV. You volunteered at the rink. Being part of this family and this culture, what does it mean for your family as a whole? I mean, you're involved, and the two younger Chesney brothers are involved. They're doing things. They're coming up to me and being like, hey, if there's something you need done, you let me know. So, I mean, you guys are very hands-on, all very involved. And what does that mean to you as a family that you can step into something and be involved and be there to help out?
It can't. That's how we've always been with the hockey families we've come from, the clubs we've come from. Whether I was on the board or whether the boys' dad Mike was coaching or their stepdad Chris is coaching, volunteering at different events. It's always been kind of something we've done, but that was at a hockey club near home where that was kind of the expectation. You paid to volunteer. Well, you paid or you volunteered. Where going into the Mustangs, we didn't feel any different, that we owed some time to this family who are responsible for our kids and taking on basically their day to day. So we wanted to be involved. And I think the younger boys follow suit, being involved at the rink during COVID. Yes, it was a bonus to be there in person and see, although I wish I would have been able to also hear your commentary on hockey TV. I think I told you that numerous times. Being at the rink, I'm missing hockey TV and I want to hear what you're saying because it was enjoyable, but it was nice to be there. And we do like being hands-on. It means the world to us that they allow us to do that, or that even now they know that they can expect that from us, because hockey is a lifestyle. It is not something you do on the side, especially when your kids have gone this far through it at this level. So we want to be a part of it.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain level of commitment that is from both the player and the parents, and making sure everything is where it needs to be on a game day. And, sometimes there are just not enough hands, and the help is always appreciated. I know that for a fact.
Right. Yeah,
All right.
definitely. You need all those helpers.
So now moving into year 2, Ethan's already with the team, but now Josh signs with the Mustangs. What's it like having two sons in the organization now?
One, it's a relief because the year prior, Ethan was at the Mustangs and Josh was all the way up in Eagle River. So they were total opposite sides of, the Midwest, if you'd say. So bringing him home to the Mustangs was great. And then just knowing what that meant. Granted, the year before was a COVID year, so we didn't really know what junior hockey had looked like what this year was going to be, because it was going to be new. But having them both experience it together, they're an 02 and an 04. So they've never got to play together until midget year. And that was just in the spring one year because Ethan had moved up. So seeing them in the same uniform on the ice together, whether it was one supporting the other, very rarely was it on the same line. I mean, as a mom, it was so exciting. And then hearing our friends or people who have followed, both the Chesney boys, they're such different players. So my anxiety level probably went up a little bit more, having one who's maybe a little more aggressive of a player and one who's more skilled player. It just hit different parts of me stress-wise, but it was so much fun. That first game, watching them both dress, was truly like, this is what we've worked for them to be able to do this eventually. It was fun. To them, it wasn't, they're not thinking that probably. To them, it's a game to play and we're playing. To me, it just filled my heart.
Yeah, and to kind of build off of that question, Ethan got called up in the season to the North American Hockey League. What's it like making that decision as a parent that if you have 2 games in the same night in the same state?
So that first game that Ethan got pulled up to, the Mustangs were at home. So I drove to Peoria, and actually I think that first game I drove to Springfield, and Ethan's and Josh's dad went to Peoria, and we just waited to see, are they gonna play? We assumed with Ethan getting pulled up that meant they needed him to play. With Josh, obviously, until the rosters, put out there, we don't know. So it was just, as soon as if you're playing, let us know, because we want to be there. Not that we want to be there only if our son is playing, but in a situation like that where you're split, you want to see that first game. Josh's understanding was, Mom, he's in the null. He's playing at the null. Go see him play. So, and I wanted to. I didn't want to miss it. We didn't know when it would end, that he would get dropped back down or if he would play several games. So it's hard to go between that. It does help that they're both at the Mustangs. And if should that ever change, or next year when Ethan doesn't play, depending on where he is, it's a tough call, but it's communication. It's communication with my husband to see who's going to watch the game at home, who's going to go to the game, and with their dad of who's going to go to which game. So it's very on the moment, but I think we've prepared for that in hockey, because your tournaments, you don't generally know your schedule till right before. So it's kind of growing up in youth hockey. It's what you expect, some last minute decisions. So either way, we get to be there and support them and cheer them on, because we have something like Hockey TV that we can watch and still be involved in.
I would say whoever gets stuck at home and having to watch it on Hockey TV, they're the lucky one, because they get to they get to hear us say who's talking.
Yeah. Well, how many times we text each other at games, whoever's the one's watching, and says, Redmond just said blah, 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 because it's so fun or so exciting to hear.
Yeah, I've actually talked about that before. There are times I have no clue what I say until way after the fact. And Mike Callahan will be like, yeah, hey, I rewatched the game. He goes, do you know you said this? I'm like, not a clue. I won't know till Sunday morning when I'm going back through and I'm clipping highlights. It's like, man, sometimes things just go haywire, and sometimes it works. So
some of them are so good. Your smooth as grandma's gravy is still my favorite one.
That has actually garnered a lot of favoritism.
I was gonna say, Mustangs fans was with Josh yesterday, and y'all should be excited. We got some new sayings coming next year.
I got some
perfect.
Got some new sayings, but you kind of touched on a little bit with Ethan and Joshua. They're totally different players. And I remember at the end of, I'm going to call it myself and Ethan's rookie season, because we share a rookie year in the NA3.
Mhm.
Summer had started and the Mustangs had posted that they had tendered Joshua. And I made a post, and it was a lighthearted, like, oh, great, 2 Chesneys in the lineup. I'm going to have to put nail polish on the back and something along them lines.
Mhm.
And I remember it was within moments of me posting that, and you said, no worries, they're 2 totally different players.
Mhm.
And I remember
Yep.
coming into camp, and my first taste of Joshua was, holy moly, this kid is physical and
Mhm.
he is willing to throw around his weight. Seeing them two, and the differences of Ethan being a skilled guy and Joshua is a physical kid, seeing them play on the same line those few times they did, how does that feel when you see them and they're playing on that same line and they're working together and it's like meshing really well?
It's so exciting because you want them to do well together, and they know each other. Like, obviously I know them as players and my sons and how they behave and how they act. And seeing one moment in specific, I remember watching Ethan pass the puck to Josh in hopes that he could get Josh his first point, or Josh passing that. I think in that same game, Josh passed the puck to Ethan. Ethan wanted to score because that was going to be Josh's assist. And it was so fun wanting to see that. What I saw more was usually one of them getting in a kind of a scruffle and the other one stepping up, which was also fun to see and expected. But they were short-lived moments, and when they're out there, they're all teammates, and they basically are all brothers. And I always will see it that way with the team they're on. But specifically to my 2, it was exciting and fun, and expectations were kind of set because I know they're different players, and I wanted that for them as much as they did. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah, and to kind of close out with the final question, what advice do you have for parents or even players coming into the program to be successful and make that transition from youth hockey feel kind of easy into the playing at junior level?
That is such an easy question to answer. Moving to junior hockey, the drama that is left behind is amazing. It's you leave that the it now becomes about the players. The players in junior hockey are playing their game. The parents are there to watch them, help where we can. But you lose all of that extra behind the scenes stuff that happens in youth hockey. So I've been asked this question numerous times, like, gosh, I'm just so nervous about letting my kid go. Yes, the nerves are there because they are moving and they're going to live with a new family. That was very easy for our family. So I would just say, leave it up to the kids. It's a step in the right direction if they're made for it. And so much goes away from it that it becomes so much more enjoyable because they've reached that level. It's something they've worked for, and now you can just sit back and be proud of them and not have all the anxiety. Now it's different anxiety because now they're playing junior hockey and there's more fighting and things like that, and that's a hockey mom's heart that will, I believe, will never go away. Probably any mom's heart. But it's a good move for kids to do. I know hockey's different than most sports. They don't go right to college, and in order to build towards that level, these are the steps to take, and that's hard for a lot of people's mindset. But my boys have grown into the better young men because of junior hockey and the Mustang family. So I would encourage anybody to do that. Make that move.
All right, Ryan, I appreciate you taking time out of your holiday weekend to sit and talk with us, kind of give us a view from the home side, the mom side of what it is to be a Mustang. It's unreal to me, like the difference in angles of being a coach, being a player, and then an actual, the mom or the hockey family. It is really cool that you took your time to talk with us and kind of go over some of this. And I appreciate it so very, very much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you asking me to do it. It's fun. It's fun to be involved in all parts of this
And
Mustang family.
And actually, before we close out here, this was my wife's idea because she's like, I kind of wonder what it's like from a hockey parent's perspective, because, you know, we sit there and I'm in the press box and I talk to the kids, you know, I'll be down in the locker room, we'll chit chat, or I see them out, I'll chit chat or whatever. But, you know, they don't really give you the perspective from a parental standpoint, because I don't know that a lot of these young men don't realize that I'm old enough to be their dad. I've been graced with the fountain of youth, I guess. But anyway, you know, they don't realize that. And so they just see me as the guy that calls their games on hockey TV and that. So it is great to hear the viewpoint. Mustangs fans, this is Around the Stable. We are inching closer and closer to the start of the 2022-23 season. Keep your focus on all of Mustang social media and our websites for updates and everything concerning the upcoming season. I do believe the schedule will be coming out in roughly a month. So keep an eye on all Mustang social media for all that information.